السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, inshallah, today Saturday the 3rd of Jumada al-Akhirah 1437, matching the 12th of the month of March, the third month, 2016. Inshallah, we start with the disease and the cure by Al-Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim alayhi rahmatullah ta'ala. Alayhi rahmatullahi ta'ala. Now, the last two sessions, the Shaykh explained or started explaining that sins and disobediences, they are nothing but a supply, a provision, assistance and help that the person is helping the shaitan against his own self. He is helping the shaitan with committing sins and disobediences. He is helping the shaitan against his own self. And he mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he tested the son of Adam with this, then he gave him help and assistance, gave him different tools to fight the shaitan in this war. And he mentioned the deal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had with the son of Adam. The price is paradise, and the believers have to sell everything, their souls and their wealth, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to please him. He mentioned then the details of the different types of assistance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the believer. So he mentioned a number of them, and he mentioned then that he taught him how to fight this war. And he said that this fight is summarized in 4 words. 4 words in the verse from Surah Ali Imran that is at the end of it. اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. Then he spoke now that the shaitan, he put it like a conversation. The shaitan is speaking to his deputies, to his allies, to his helpers, as to what to do to drag the son of Adam into sins and disobediences. So he started talking about al-thughur. And the word thaghr in the Arabic language, the original meaning is that it's an opening. That's why the mouth is called thaghr, right? The mouth, one of the words used for mouth, fam wa fu, and thaghr also, right? Because it is an opening, right? This word thaghr is an opening, that's the original meaning, but it is used for a place or a location or a city that is between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. It's like a borderline. And in that place, the Muslims, they will fortify that place, supply it with army and weapons, so that this is now the first defense line, right, against the enemies. So he uses this word for the thughur. He says thaghr, the plural is thughur, right? These fortified cities or locations. He talks about the ear, the eye, and the mouth, the tongue, right? So last time he spoke about حفظ, how to protect oneself in general from the attacks of the shaitan. So he spoke about the eye, the location, that fortified location, or that place that should be fortified. The eye should be fortified in a way that it will not commit sins. Because the eye, when it looks at things that are prohibited, this has a direct negative effect on the heart, right? And he mentioned how the shaitan will try to deviate, try to sway or misguide the human in different ways, even into telling him, look with your eye, you are looking and reflecting about the creation of Allah, how beautiful the creation of Allah is. So he's calling him to look at that, to a point that he might call him to what is called the unity of existence, or Allah united, being united with the humans, being united with the humans, or Allah residing either in the creation at large in general, or in one specific creation, like the Christians claiming Jesus alayhi salatu wassalam, right? Allah manifests himself in the image of Jesus, or he resides in Jesus, right? This is what is called hulul al-khas. It's a form of pantheism, that Allah resides into a specific thing. Or there is more than that, those who say Allah resides in everything. Wal-'iyadhu billah. And this is a belief that even some Muslims might believe in that unknowingly, or unfortunately very much knowingly, right? They say Allah is everywhere, right? Allah is everywhere, right? Allah fi kulli makan, right? And this is a false belief. This is not in Islam, right? If one is referring to the knowledge of Allah, the ability of Allah, then yes, Allah is all able, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees all, right? All seeing, all hearing, right? ما يكون من نجوى ثلاثة إلا هو رابعهم. There is no private conversation between three except that He is the fourth, right? So in this sense, that Allah knows everything, Allah hears everything, Allah watches and sees everything, right? But then we don't say about this that Allah is في كل مكان and that's it. في كل مكان بعلمه, everywhere with His knowledge. Although even this, يعني, you need to be careful how to use these words, right? Depending on the audience and who's listening, and you might not want to have them understand something wrong. But then there are those who say like that, and some add even everywhere and nowhere, right? يعني mixed up all of it together, right? So this is the case. He said that if you can, the shaitan, he's speaking like the shaitan is telling his helpers, that if you can bring this person to believe in this, then you know that's what you want, right? Then you try to make him someone who is not interested in the worldly pleasures, someone who worships a lot, so he can attract more audience, right? To follow him and follow the shaitan in this false belief that takes one outside of the religion of Al-Islam. That's where we stopped last time. Then he goes on to talk about the ear. He says, ثم امنعوا ثغر الأذن أن يدخل منه ما يفسد عليكم الأمر. Then you should prevent this opening, this place, that location that should be fortified, the ear. Prevent it from having anything entering into it that will corrupt for you the affair. Corrupt for you the affair. The affair of making the human deviate. He says, فاجتهدوا أن لا يدخل منه إلا الباطل. You do your best. You spend all efforts that nothing will enter into the ear except that which is false, falsehood. فإنه خفيف على النفس. For falsehood is light upon the soul. تستحليه وتستجمله. The self finds that falsehood coming to the ear, finds it to be so nice and so beautiful. This is how the soul finds it. If you look around, see how many people are infatuated with music and all kinds of things. You find most of the people. Why? Because the ear finds that to be nice and beautiful. This is how they are attracted to that. تخيروا أعذب الألفاظ وأسحرها للألباب. He says to them, choose the softest, the best of words, and the words that are most captivating to the minds, words that enter the ears of the people, most captivating. Ashar, sihr, you know, the magic, right? He says most mesmerizing, you know, just you are attracting. Use the words that will bring them, right? وَمْزُجُوهُ بِمَا تَهْوَى النُّفُوسُ مَزْجًا. Mix that with what the souls desire. Mix it, all the mixing. Completely mix it with that. وَأَلْقُوا الْكَلِمَةِ. Cast the word. Now put it in the ear. فَإِنْ رَأَيْتُم مِّنْهُ إِصْغَاءً إِلَيْهَا فَزُجُّوهُ بِأَخَوَاتِهَا. If you find from him that he is paying attention and listening to that word, then push him into having even the sisters of those words. Right? He likes one word, give him the other words that are like it. He says, وَكُلَّمَا صَادَفْتُم مِّنْهُ اسْتِحْسَانَ شَيْءٍ فَالْهَجُوا لَهُ بِذِكْرِهِ. Every time you find him finding something to be nice and good, then mention it to him so much. Right? Mention it to him so much. وَإِيَّاكُمْ أَنْ يَدْخُلَ مِنْ هَذَا الثَّغْرِ. Beware that anything will enter from this thagr, from this opening, the ear. Prevent any of the words of Allah, كلام الله أو كلام رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Any words from the words of Allah, or the words of the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, or the words of النصحاء أو كلام النصحاء, or the words of the advisors. Do not let any words like this go in. يعني even the Qur'an speaks about the kuffar. لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه. Right? Do not listen to this Qur'an and والغوا فيه. Speak loudly and make noise so you don't even hear it because of the noise. Right? So he's saying here, do not let the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor the words of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor the words of the advisors, those who are giving consultation, right? Advice. فَإِنْ غُلِبْتُمْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ وَدَخَلَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ شَيْءٍ. If you are overwhelmed, or shayateen, he's talking to the shayateen. If you are overwhelmed, if you are beaten up, and some of that entered, any of that got to enter into the ear, فحولوا بينه وبين فهمه وتدبره وتفكره فيه والعظة به. So if some words enter now, he says, prevent him, form a barrier between him and understanding it, and reflecting upon it, and thinking in it, and taking a lesson or an admonition from it. So you might, وَالْعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, listen to the words of Allah, and then you don't get anything from it, right? He says, إِمَّا بِإِدْخَالِ ضِدِّهِ عَلَيْهِ, either by entering the opposite to it inside of the ear, وَإِمَّا بِتَهْوِيلِ ذَلِكَ وَتَعْظِيمِهِ, either by, as he said, you enter the opposite to that, right? كلام الله والرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم والصحابة رضي الله عنهم. Enter the opposite, كلام الشياطين, the speech of the Satans and the disbelievers and so on and so forth. That's one way, you give him the opposite. Or التهويل, scaring him, making it a big thing, aggrandizing the issue, تعظيم, aggrandize, making it look so big. إفهامه أن هذا أمر, make him understand that this is a matter قد حيل بين النفوس وبينه فلا سبيل لها إليه. This is a matter that the souls, there is a barrier put between the souls and understanding that, right? So there is no way to reach it, right? وهو حمل ثقيل عليها لا تشتغل به. This is a heavy burden on it. Do not busy yourself with it. And the likes of that. يعني, like some have said, you know, the Qur'an, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hadith, the words of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is for the big shuyukh, those who are deep into the religion. But the ordinary people, what do you do with that? Even if you read it, you can't understand it. They take it even a step further. They say, if you try to understand it on your own, A'udhu billah, you are going to go astray. You can't, right? You can't. Now, we had this discussion before with the Sheikh Akram when we read the book about this issue of following the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam by Imam Abi Shama في الرد إلى الأمر الأول, يعني going back to the first affair, you know, following the book and the Sunnah, right? To a point that some of those people who talk, they say, taking what appears from the Qur'an and the Sunnah just like that, without referring to their, you know, references, is from the foundations that lead to disbelief. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. They would be amazed to see people supposedly who have knowledge who say this, right? Now there is one issue, and that is someone who is not qualified, he cannot go to the Qur'an and derive rulings from it, start giving the fatwas to the people, and go to the Sunnah and without qualifications derive rulings and give it to the people. This is not allowed. Speaking without knowledge is one of the major sins in Islam. But on the other hand, this does not mean, forget it, you can never understand the book of Allah. Just put it on the shelf, leave it. To do what? To collect dust, right? You read, if you don't understand, you ask the scholars, you read the books of tafsir, you sit in the sittings of knowledge. This is how you do it. Not, you know, there is a lock on this, just put it aside. You cannot understand it. Are you trying to understand this? This is how they talk. I'm sure you have met some people who are like this, right? When you tell them there is this hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, they tell you, you know, Bukhari is not for you and me. Yes, it's not for us to derive rulings just directly like that. But if the hadith from Bukhari was explained to us by a scholar, and he derived from it the ruling and gave it to us, and he told us that this is what it means, and we looked at it and we understood it, then that is what it is. We need to follow that, right? And this is what we do in other aspects of our lives. In other aspects of our lives, this is what we do. We ask, we look for what is right and what is wrong, right? What is best, right? Even what is better and what is best. What is okay, what is better and what is best. And even our worldly affairs, we do that, right? And the Qur'an was revealed to be listened to be understood and to be followed, not to be ignored, right? So this is the case. He says here, you aggrandize this, you make it something so big, so scary. Don't even come near there, right? And there are those who would tell you, you know what? If you go too deep in the religion, I'm sure you heard those people talk like that. You know, you go nuts, you know. You're not anymore in your right mind. If you go too deep, just stay outside. It's okay to be religious, but don't go deep. If you go deep, right? Maybe some of them practiced Sufism and those things. Really, if you go deep in that, you really go nuts. You really go out of your mind, because they tell you things that are really insane, right? Really insane. And we did mention some of these before. The person who wanted to become more religious, he came to a Sufi sheikh. He told him, I want to become like you. He said, you can't. He says, just tell me I want to be like you. He says, I told you can't, just go. He says, no, just tell me. He says, okay, go shave your beard and take a bag, sack, put in it some jaws, nuts, a type of nut. Then go around to the kids and tell them, everyone who slaps me, I will give him a hazelnut or an almond or, So he told them, subhanallah, what is this? That Sufi sheikh, he says, you saying subhanallah, this is shirk, walayadu billah. He told him, you're saying subhanallah, you are not glorifying Allah, you are glorifying yourself. Look how they twist, right? So he said, I can't do that. He said, well, I told you you can't. Remember, I told you you can't become like me. Yeah, and you have to go through the right? This is in Ihya Ulum al-Din. We are laughing about it, but unfortunately, someone who is very learned, he puts that in the book, and then he tells you, don't think that those things. He's in support of that because of the explanation. They explain it differently, in a way that is not what it appears. And there were other stories that are like this. That person who is worshipping, young man worshipping. So one from the Sufi people, he saw him. He said, MashaAllah, this is good. He went to him and he said, I'm going to take you to so and so. He mentioned the name of a big Sufi sheikh. That young man, he didn't care about him. So he goes, I want you to see so and so. That name is Abu Yazid al-Bastami. So he ignores him again. So he says, I'm telling you, let's go see him. Now that person, they claim, this is what the story says. We don't know. But that's what the story says. He lives in the not with the humans. He lives in that jungle, yes. Right? So with the animals and those, right? So this young man, he tells him, why would I see so and so? The one who sees Allah every day, why is it that he should see so and so? If it stops there, this story is bad enough, right? But this Sufi guy, he tells him, woe to you, for you to see so and so, that Sufi in the jungle, is better for you than to see Allah 70 times. There is a twist, they have a twist in all of that. He tells him, then he explains, when you see Allah yourself, Allah reveals himself to you according to your level, which is like this, But if you see him with Abu Yazid, Allah reveals himself according to the status of Abu Yazid. And then it goes on that he agreed to go with him. And once he saw one look at Abu Yazid, he died. Right? So Abu Yazid explains, according to the story, of course, that this young man, this youth was a sincere person. His heart, he couldn't take this too much. He sees Allah every day, nothing happened to him. When he saw Abu Yazid, right there and then, right? So this is the type of things that they say. If you go deep in the religion like this, which is deep into insanity, you will become insane, no doubt about it, right? No doubt about that. But then, if you go the right way, the book and the Sunnah and the Sahaba and the 4 Imams and the great Imams of Islam over time, then you won't go insane and you won't be, in trouble. So he says here, tell him that this is a big thing, and you know that there are people who are like this. Now you're becoming a sheikh, mashallah. Even he was just started once in the masjid. Some of those, it's very funny. They talk to each other. Someone who are not practicing. And all of a sudden they walk into each other surprised. What are you doing here? So people are like years and years away from the masjid. And the other tells them, and what are you doing here? Now you're becoming a sheikh. They view this thing to be something. And some people think that those who are practicing, they are living in misery. They are living in poverty. They are living in hardship. They cry and they are sad 24/7. This is what they think. Right? This is the shaitan telling them this. Otherwise, they are the ones who are sad. They are the ones who are in misery. But then, this is the case. So the shaitan tells them, this is too big for you. This is not your hat. Right? Find something else. It's not your thing. If you go into it, it's too big for you. Then he says, that's one side, making it too big. The other side is وَإِمَّا بِإِرْخَاصِهِ عَلَى النُّفُوسِ وَأَنَّ الاشتغال ينبغي أن يكون بما هو أعلى عند الناس. The other way now, other than aggrandizing, making him scared and terrified of being a religious person, the other side, making it the religion rakhis, so cheap, something that is low, you shouldn't be giving it attention, right? That what you should busy yourself with is that which the people view to be something good, something high, right? Something dear to the people, something strange and amazing for them. And وَزَبُونُهُ وَالْقَابِلُونَ لَهُ أَكْثَرُ. The customers of that thing, they are much more, right? The customers, I always say, the customers of this halaqah here, right? Brothers, they say, are we going to do this or that, Arabic or otherwise? I say, if we have customers all the time, right? Customers. He says, here the shaitan tells the human, if he cannot make it too big for him, he makes it too cheap, too, despicable, something that he should not give any attention. You should pay attention to that which, something that has a lot of customers, right? The worldly life has a lot of customers. The fans for music, for soccer, for this, for that, they are, no way can be compared to those who care about the religion. So he tells them, look, put your attention in something that has more customers, not this. You go to the masjid, you only find one or two or three, and only the old men, what are you doing here? You are a young man. The others all white beards and, with a cane and about to die. This is how they talk. Right? Busy yourself with something that is more, amazing, has more customers, more interest there is into it. Right? He tells them, أَمَّا الْحَقُّ فَهُوَ مَهْجُورٌ. As for the truth, it is abandoned. وَقَائِلُهُ مُعَرِّضٌ نَفْسَهُ لِلْعَدَاوَةِ. The one who speaks the truth, he exposes himself to enmity. وَالرَّابِحُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَوْلَى بِالْإِيثَارِ. That which is profitable between the people, business that is profitable, matter that is gaining with the people, is more preferred, should be more preferred by you. أَوْلَى بِالْإِيثَارِ. وَنَحْوُ ذَلِكَ. And the likes of this. This is what he should say to him. He says, فَتُدْخِلُونَ الْبَاطِلَ عَلَيْهِ فِي كُلِّ قَالِبٍ يَقْبَلُهُ وَيَخِفُّ عَلَيْهِ. The shaitan tells his deputies that you enter falsehood upon him in every shape or form that he accepts and that he finds it easy for him. Right? وَتُخْرِجُونَ لَهُ الْحَقَّ فِي كُلِّ قَالِبٍ يَكْرَهُ وَيَثْقُلُ عَلَيْهِ. As for the truth, you present it to him in every shape or form that he hates and finds it to be so burdensome, too much heavy on him. وَإِذَا شِئْتَ أَن تَعْرِفَ ذَلِكَ فَانظُرْ إِلَى إِخْوَانِهِمْ مِنْ شَيَاطِينِ الْإِنسِ. If you want to know this, you want to recognize it, then look at their brothers from the Satans of the humans. The brothers of the Satans from the jinn. Look at the Satans of the ins. كيف يخرجون الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر في قالب كثرة الفضول. Those who would present commanding good and forbidding evil. جزاك الله خيرا وأحسن إليك. They will bring out commanding good and forbidding evil. They will bring it out and present it as what? In the form of kathrat al-fudul, the abundance of being nosy. You're being too nosy. Yani people who don't pray, you tell them they should pray. Why being nosy? Why you stick your nose in other people's business? Right? You find them doing something haram, to tell them not to do it. You're being nosy, akhi. Leave them alone. What is it your business? This is a free country. Everyone does what he wants, right? Kathrat al-fudul. Fadl is extra. Fudul here is being nosy, being inquisitive, trying to, get involved in other people's affairs. This is al-fudul. And we understood from the hadith, min husni islam al-mar tarkuhu ma la yani. From the good Islam of a person is for him to leave that which does not concern him. Commanding good and forbidding evil concerns the believer, right? Because it's part of the obligations. Especially if there is no one to do it except you. You are the one who is present, so you have to do it. They will say that this is being nosy, being involved in affairs that you shouldn't be involved into. He says, في قالب الفضول وتتبع عثرات الناس, that you are pursuing the mistakes of people, right? Commanding good and forbidding evil. They will present it in the form of pursuing, looking for, tracing the mistakes of the people. والتعرض من البلاء لما لا يطيق, that you expose yourself to tests and trials that you are unable to take, right? وإلقاء الفتن بين الناس, causing fitna, causing turmoil, putting turmoil and confusion between the people. ونحو ذلك, and the likes of that. ويخرجون اتباع السنة ووصف الرب تعالى بما وصف به نفسه ووصفه به رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم في قالب التجسيم والتشبيه والتكييف. They will also bring out and present, following the Sunnah, describing Allah with that which He described Himself with and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam described Him with. They will present this in the form of at-tajsim, that you are speaking about Allah as if He is a body. Wat-tashbih, likening Allah to the creation. Wat-takyif, speaking about how Allah is. ويسمون علو الله على خلقه واستوائه على عرشه ومباينته لمخلوقاته تحيزا. They also call, they use the word, they call the highness of Allah, that Allah is high above everything, over His creation, and Him ascending, rising over His throne, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Him being separated from His creation, that they are not mixed together. They call that tahayyuz, that you are talking about Allah with the attributes of the bodies and the created things that He created, that they have a certain space that they fill in. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This is how they talk, right? يسمون نزوله إلى سماء الدنيا وقوله من يسألني فأعطيه تحركا وانتقالا. The fact that He descends subhanahu wa ta'ala, He comes down subhanahu wa ta'ala to the lower heaven, saying, who asks of me and I will give him. They will call that movement and moving from one place to the other, transporting, being transported or moving from one location to another, right? ويسمون ما وصف به نفسه من اليد والوجه أعضاء وجوارح. And they call what He subhanahu wa ta'ala described himself with, of the hand, the face, they call that limbs, They call that body parts. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَيُسَمُّونَ مَا يَقُومُ بِهِ مِنْ أَفْعَالِهِ حَوَادِث. They call things that Allah does, the actions that He does, they call that حوادث, happenings, things that newly happen, in order to say that no, He didn't do them, right? وَمَا يَقُومُ بِهِ مِنْ صِفَاتِهِ أَعْرَاضًا. They also call the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they call that أعراض. You have a arad and you have a jawhar. Now those things, I don't want to dwell on them too much, right? Because part of that is we did Al-Hamawiyah before with the Sheikh Akram Ziyada, Hafidh Allah, and we went deep into that because we did the original. Although, I told you before that there is a debt that we have to fulfill, and that is to go through Talkhis Al-Hamawiyah, the summary of Al-Hamawiyah by Shaykh al-Islam by the Shaykh Al-Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala, because he simplified that book and he made it very easy to digest and understand. The reason that book has some difficulty in it, not because of what it contains of the Qur'an and the Sunnah. It's actually because he was quoting the words of the philosophers, those who say like this, those words that he's quoting now, right? Tajseem, the arad, jawhar, those things, right? Those words that they use, the essence of Allah, and other than that, right? That's why it was somewhat difficult. But the Shaykh Al-Uthaymin rahimahullah, he simplified it and he presented it in a very easy way. We did that actually before, but it was only recorded on audio and still available on the audio files. But maybe we should do it with this new way of recording so that it will be easy to use also. Anyhow, those deviant people, they use different words to go against what Allah said about Himself. There is nothing wrong about believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is high above His creation. He told us that. What is wrong with that? Right? There is nothing wrong with it. Allah said this about Himself. Allah is more knowledgeable about Himself and about His creation. أعلم بنفسه وبخلقه. And He mentioned this about His own self. So then we believe in it. He mentioned that He comes down to the lower heaven in the last third of the night, and He says, who asks of me, I will give him. Right? So then He said that He does it. We don't think how, and you cannot ask about how Allah is or how He does things. He told us, so we believe in it. We do not say, no, it cannot be. This is a figure of speech. This is a metaphor. Right? We cannot say that. We just believe in it as He said it, along with saying that Allah comes down unlike anybody else. There is nothing that resembles Him from His creation subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, the face, the hand, those attributes that Allah mentioned for Himself, then they are true for Himself. And His hand is not like the hands of the creation, and His face is not like the face of the creation subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each one has an attribute that is befitting to Him. So those attributes befit Allah's greatness and majesty, and the attributes of the humans befit their deficiency and their humanity. Right? So there is no resemblance between the creator and the creation. So he says, this is the point. ثم يتوصلون إلى نفي ما وصف به نفسه بنفي هذه الأمور. They, all of these words, and sometimes these words are very, they make them rhyme, They sound so good, right? كان الله ولا مكان وقبل خلق المكان وهو الآن على ما عليه كان. Also again they mesmerize with these تنزه عن الأغراض والأعواء والأعراض, like this, right? Rhyming words that they think they are praising Allah with, but the conclusion is they want to negate what Allah said about himself. He said he has this attribute, they say no, he doesn't. That's the end. But they don't want to say it as blunt as that. They don't want to say, no, this is not right and this is right, because they're going to negate what Allah said. They don't want to do that. So they have to twist it somehow. He says, يوهمون الأغمار وضعفاء البصائر. They make, أغمار is the plural of غمر. غمر is the one who is not experienced. Someone who's not experienced in things or in life. غمر. Right? So those, the plural is أغمار. They make them believe or think. وضعفاء البصائر, those who have weak insight, they make them see, or they make them understand that affirming the attributes which have come in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, نطق بها كتاب الله, that have come in the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they necessitate these affairs. That if you believe in what Allah said about himself, then you are falling in making Allah resembling the creation. Right? They make them feel like that. Right? And then يخرجون هذا التعطيل في قالب التنزيه والتعظيم. They will bring out this actually cancelling the attributes of Allah. They bring it in the form of glorifying Allah and holding him to be far removed from any deficiency. He says وأكثر الناس ضعفاء العقول يقبلون الشيء بلفظ ويردونه بعينه بلفظ آخر. Most of the people who have weak intellects, they accept something with certain words, but then they reject it with other words, although it's the same thing. But they accept this wording and they reject the other wording. قال تعالى وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا. Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 112. That as such we have appointed for, or we made for every prophet an enemy, the Satans of humans and jinn. They reveal, they inspire one another. They inspire one another with words that are adorned. زخرف القول, adornment of words. غرورا, deception. Right? فسماه زخرفا وهو باطل. He called it ornamented, decorated words, while it is actually false. لأن صاحبه يزخرفه ويزينه ما استطاع. Because the one who says these words, he beautifies, he adorns, he decorates these words as much as he can. ويلقيه إلى سمع المغرور فيغتر به. He puts it in the ear of the one who is deceived, so that one he takes the bait, he becomes deceived. والمقصود, what is intended here, أن الشيطان قد لزم ثغر الأذن يدخل فيها ما يضر العبد. The shaitan, he is sticking to this ear, this fortress of the ear. He is sticking right there at the borderline, that opening, right? He tries to enter in it that which will harm the servant and that which does not benefit him. ولا ينفعه ويمنع أن يدخل إليها ما ينفعه. He stops anything that is beneficial from entering into the ear. وإن دخل بغير اختياره أفسد عليه. And if some words that are good words enter into the ear, he tries to corrupt it for him. He tries to corrupt it for him. So we stop here this time, inshallah. And next time we continue with the tongue now. He spoke about the eye, he spoke about the ear. Next is the tongue and what the shaitan does, or how the shaitan tries to make the person slip through his tongue. Right? This opening or this place that should be fortified and protected, how the shaitan enters and he makes the human